Yeah, excited to be hosting a home playoff game. We expect it to be a great atmosphere on Sunday afternoon, and playing a great football team as is expected in the playoffs, and be a great challenge for us. So, you start your paces like normal on a Sunday to Sunday rhythm now with Wednesday, and just kind of take it one day at a time right now, and build the foundation for the week today, and looking forward to what Sunday's going to bring. But it really does feel like a 1 week, 1 game season. You just kind of have the ability to just kind of, if ever there was a time to focus on one day at a time, focus on one game at a time, the playoffs is that time. So looking forward to that challenge. But can take any questions you have.
You guys have had a lot of pressure situations. This is probably your first must-win game of the season. Is that a different kind of pressure? Is that more difficult?
I don't know that I think about those things. I'm just focused on, the X's and O's, studying, knowing the plan and being able to execute the plan. And the other stuff isn't really where my mind goes.
How do you feel? You've gotten some action in the last 2 games with the retooled offensive line, but just how do you feel about the line, losing some guys and how it's coming together?
Yeah, it's not defined in terms of who's going to be there Sunday. You're not sure yet because it's only Wednesday. So it'll be important to get out there the next couple of days and be able to practice hard and get some good quality reps with the group together. And I think the fact that some of our players who haven't played as much earlier in the year, like a Chris Reed or an Oli Udoh, the fact that they have the last 2 weeks, I think, is valuable experience, valuable time on task. And someone like Oli, it's unique that you can have someone who's coming in, to replace Brian, who has started so many games. Usually you have a guy who would be pretty new, and in this case, he's played a lot of football, so that's a blessing.
But everyone talks about how important continuity is on the offensive line. How tough is it, this shuffling happening so late in the season?
I mean, you'd love to have everybody healthy all the time. That's just in week 19. That's probably not reality. So you always accept what your hand is, and you go to work and you prepare and you do your job.
Kirk, does anything change on your front in terms of when you have a different line, thinking about whether having to manage protections differently or get the ball out possibly sooner? Does anything change there?
I think it'd be the opposite. I think if you start to play the game differently, you can hurt yourself. I think it's the opposite. I think it's important to always trust your coaches, always trust your teammates, and always play the game with your rules applying. And I think this week will be no different than any other week.
What's the biggest challenge in playing the same defense within a month?
Yeah, divisional opponents, you obviously play teams maybe not within a month, but sometimes you can have games that are pretty close together. So, I think it's similar probably to playing a divisional opponent where you're seeing them a second time. It's a good challenge, and it's a good defense, and will require a lot of preparation.
Kirk, what do you think led to KJ's increase in targets the last 4 or 5 games?
I don't have a great answer for you. I think he's certainly a great player and really has earned the right to have the ball thrown his way. Sometimes it's just because that's where your reads take you, accidentally, if you will. It isn't intended. You could argue late in the Green Bay game, I think Justin might have been out. So at that point, KJ kind of is your Justin, if that makes sense. So, you have different reasons, but ultimately I think he's just a great football player that we want to get the football to.
TJ had a good game last time you guys faced the Giants. Was that part of the game plan going into it? Did you see that there may have been some openings there for him to have a big game?
There really wasn't a discussion that, hey, we're going to feed TJ the ball. No. You just kind of go through your progressions a few times. He's backside on a concept, and you're kind of clicking through, and he gets the ball. But when the play is called or the ball is snapped, that's not at all by design. Other times he's number one, and he has a great opportunity to get it. So it's probably a mixed bag, and from week to week you never quite know, how that's going to sort out.
Is the atmosphere in the building any different this week than it was the first 18 weeks?
Well, I think playoffs always bring an excitement that's great to have. I think that intensity and that sense of urgency is what makes the playoffs fun, and it's kind of a fun challenge to know that it's win or go home. I think there's a competitive thrill there, if you will, that's fun about that. You play, you work, you go back to April, May, June, and August, and the whole season really to get to this opportunity. And what's always important to remember is that you don't start OTAs next spring factoring in how this season went. Everybody starts at the same place again, and so it's so important when you've put yourself in a position to have a home playoff game that you take advantage of it, because it's not something that you get to carry over beyond Sunday. And so that's really, again, where that sense of urgency is felt and understood and applied to your Wednesday preparation.
13-4, the best record of your career, 8 fourth-quarter comebacks. Do you perhaps go into this playoffs as a more confident quarterback than maybe you did in any previous playoffs, or more mature or anything? Or how do you look?
Well, certainly more mature, right? I mean, year 11 is better than year 10, better than year 9, year 8. So I think every time you go out there and play and learn and get better, you build as a player. A continuous improvement is what I've always looked for, and I think that whether it was in Washington, we talked about that, now here in Minnesota, you always want to be getting better as a quarterback, and I do think that continuous improvement has happened. The day that I don't feel that's happening anymore, I'll probably walk away. But, yes, I think that the longer you play, the more you improve, and that can't hurt.
What's the key when you talk about being excited about a win-or-go-home game to kind of keep it on that side of things and not think if we lose, it's over, and then kind of getting tight as a result of that?
It's a great question. One that, I'll talk with Dr. Mack about, our team psychologist, right? I mean, there's the kinds of things that you say, hey, how do we play loose? How do we avoid, anything that could creep in that would hurt us? These are all the things as a professional you're aware of. But in my experience, playing at this level for a lot of years, you view it as an opportunity. You view it as a fun challenge, and you trust the people around you, and you go play, and you trust your training, and you trust your preparation. And it's not going to be perfect. It never is. Mistakes are going to get made, but it's all about getting that win, and the process to get there, however imperfect it may be, is secondary to getting the win.
Kirk, with your running game, how close are you guys to being efficient and where you want it to be? And how important will it be here in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think running the football is very important. I think it's important in the regular season. I think it's important in the playoffs. And I think it's something we're always going to look to improve upon, and it will be an important part of Sunday.
Kirk, you guys went, of course, 11-0 in one-score games. How much of that credit should go to, Coach O'Connell and what he's maybe done this year and helping you guys do that?
Yes, I think a lot of credit goes to Kevin. Anytime something happens to your team that hasn't happened in league history, I think that your head coach deserves a lot of credit. So, and it's important, again, kind of always looking forward, not looking back, and staying very present. I think it's important that, playoffs are likely going to be one-score games, that continues into the playoffs, and nothing that's happened in the past really guarantees anything going forward. And it's so important that we do stay in the present. I think the nature of the playoffs enables you to do that, to forget what's behind. Don't get out too far ahead. Just focus on what you have this week.
Kirk, kind of looking at the playoffs as a whole, you were a rookie quarterback at one time. Can you venture to guess what it's like to be Brock Purdy right now?
It's a team game. And I think he's done a phenomenal job, and I think his team and his coaches and the group, to win however many they've won in a row, 10 or so in a row, that just shows they got a really good football team, and so that's really what it's all about.
As a veteran, knowing how much the league changes year to year, knowing how much locker rooms change year to year, does it make you appreciate these opportunities, knowing that they don't come along every year?
Certainly, there's an awareness that, whenever an NFL season ends, the group is not just brought back as it was. There's always change, and so there's a desire to maximize the time with the group you have and to enjoy the time with the group you have. And we have a great group, and we have some guys who will be free agents that I've played with now for 4 years that are just great people, great teammates, and I have a lot of great memories playing with them. So knowing that nothing's guaranteed after this season, you want to not only enjoy every game left with them, but every meeting, every walkthrough, every practice, every cafeteria meal, because those are moments that you took for granted for 4 years, but you realize, are not guaranteed moving forward.